Audacity says, if I got this job, I'll get another one. Audacity says, if I can't be who I am, where I am, I change where I am, not who I am. That's audacity.
Okay, so you know that we live in a world where people talk about keeping the peace like it is the highest form of maturity. But what if keeping the peace actually was a disguise for just people pleasing? I think about my good friend Rachel Luna's book. You already know this entire season has been dedicated to Rachel Luna. And when she talks about permission to offend, she talks about offending with intention and how she always challenges us to tell the truth, not recklessly, but righteously. She reminds us that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say the thing that might make the room shake. That's why when I thought about who could help me illustrate this point and even tie in their own framework, their own genius, I thought about my girl, Dethra Giles. Oh my goodness. Not only is she my friend, she is the voice organizations call when communication breaks down and their culture is on the line. Because Dethra doesn't just talk about communication, she dissects it. In her book, That's Not What I Said, she lays out this powerful framework called the DARE model: describe, acknowledge, review, engage. And it shows us how to have hard conversations with courage and compassion. Now, Dietrich says that silence masquerades as safety, but it's actually the slow leak of integrity, and might I add, the slow leak of power. Let that sit for a minute. Whenever we are thinking that our silence is keeping the peace or keeping status quo, what we're really doing is really saying we don't have integrity because we know what needs to be said and we won't get the guts to say it. If you've ever been to the Redefining Wealth live event, all 3 years, this is the only woman who's been there all 3 years to speak on my Super Friends panel, which I now call the Genuine Collective. And every time she speaks, the entire room hushes. This isn't just a conversation about communication. It is a conversation about how to navigate your life with more conviction. This is about what it looks like to stand in your truth, speak with grace, and still be ready for the discomfort that comes with authentic leadership. So here's a question I want you to sit with as we dive in. What part of your truth have you been whispering or silencing when deep down you know it's time to speak it out loud? Now, after I do this affirmation of the week, which we are referring to as permission slips in honor of Rachel, the next voice you hear will be my conversation with my girl, Dethra Giles. This week's permission slip is, I am willing to offend with intention in order to hold my integrity. I understand that truth telling may disrupt peace, but silence destroys my authenticity. I choose understanding over avoidance and clarity over comfort. I honor myself by speaking with love, courage, and conviction. My words create alignment, not because they're easy, but because they are true. So declare with me today, I am willing to offend with intention in order to hold my integrity. Welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast, Dethra.
Hey, friend, I'm so excited.
It's about time.
Past time. It's past time.
About time. I have to say, for years, people would tell me about Dethra and they would say, oh my goodness, you need to meet this woman. You need to meet this woman. And for one reason or another, it just never worked out. We spoke at the same events, different days, almost got there, didn't quite happen. And then finally, our good girlfriend, Dr. Fatima, had a little girls' night, a dinner, and invited me over. Dethra was there. And when I tell you the rest is history, instantly, I was like, this is why people kept telling me you need to meet Dethra. But the funny thing is, there was a conversation that was had, and that conversation will stay in that room forever. But she instantly hit me with that look and that truth that was like, what are you talking about? It was the funniest moment, but that is when I knew. I was like, she is hilarious. And she is the person, though, that is always going to give you the truth and love. And I can say, since meeting you a couple years ago and then becoming accountability partners and all of those things, if I want someone to tell me the truth and not sugarcoat it, just give it to me straight up, but with love. You are the first person. You're one of the first people I think of, whether it's a text message or a conversation or a phone call. I know that you understand our whole conversation. Being silent about what you know could support someone is not how you keep the peace. It is how you erode authenticity and trust and power in that relationship. So thank you for being that for me. And I'm so glad I finally get to share you outside of Redefining Wealth Live with the Redefining Wealth community as a whole.
It is my honor and pleasure. That makes me feel so warm inside. Oh.
She's pretending to be nice, you guys. No, I'm kidding.
For the first couple of seconds, you got to do the little niceties and then the veil drops.
Yes. Okay. So I just want to dive in because you're absolutely brilliant. And I know that so much of how you show up is not like, oh, I learned this skill set in school. You've been showing up with this type of truth telling since you were young. So give us just one of your earliest memories of having to just let somebody know what it was and what it wasn't.
So what's so funny is, to me, one of my earliest memories, I was about 6 years old, and my mom had left to go off into the military to make a better life for us. And she left with my aunt, and my aunt was a single mother with 3 kids of her own. And then I was the additional person. And it was a very interesting environment, let's say that. But one day my aunt came to me and she told me to clean up a mess that I didn't make. And I flat out refused. And of course, back in my day, I'm Gen X. We grew up in the era where it was not considered child abuse to be physically disciplined, right? And she physically disciplined me. And even after that, I was like, I'm still not cleaning up that mess. And so she was like, who do you think you are? And I said, the person that's not gonna clean up that mess. And she was furious. But even then, I had the audacity to stand my ground and say, what else? Are you gonna beat me again? We've done that already. So what else you got? Because I'm not cleaning up that mess, and did not clean up the mess to this day. And she still talks about it till this day. But even then, I was comfortable standing in my truth.
But how at 6 years old, do you feel like it was literally just gifted to you because this was a part of your assignment?
I do. I feel like it was gifted to me. I think that there are things that each of us is put here to teach people something. And I think that was my thing. Even now, I talk about the difference between confidence and audacity. People will often say, Dethra, oh my gosh, you're so confident. And I'm like, it's not my confidence that impresses you, it's my audacity, right? When someone does something crazy, you never say, oh my gosh, that person was so confident. You say, I can't believe they had the audacity. Audacity is about action. And so I'm here to teach people to be audacious, because there are people half as good as you with 10 times your audacity, surpassing you, not because you lack confidence, because you know your stuff. They're
Mhm.
passing you because you lack the audacity to take action on your confidence.
Oh, that is so good. And it's funny because, when we say someone is audacious, in some respects we say that and it's good, but when we start to say, oh, you have the audacity, it's even funny how the same word
Mm-hmm.
is used in different contexts. But when we say, oh, you have the audacity, we rarely mean that from a good place.
We don't. We don't. Why? Because someone taught us that how dare you? That who do you think you are? That how dare you? What it is an indication of is, where did you get that audacity? Because what most often happens is your audacity is offensive to those who don't have it.
Oh.
And that's what my aunt was saying to me. Who do you think you are? Because she remembered a time when she had that level of audacity and someone beat it out of her. So how dare you be 6 and still have it? Why hasn't someone beaten it out of you yet? Why don't you know any better? And this is especially true for minority communities and women, right? Because we grew up where this audacity could get you killed. It could get you
Mm.
hung. It could get you sexually assaulted. Don't go out there being audacious. Don't go out there knowing that you're beautiful. Don't go out there showing people that you can read. Don't go out there letting people know you're smart. That level of audacity could get you killed.
And today, what does that level of audacity do?
And here's the funny thing. Everyone knows that level of audacity gets you promoted, but we're still afraid of being seen, right? It gets you seen. So if I get seen, I now have to know my stuff because no one's shooting at pigeons because they're walking on the ground. Eagles are audacious, but everybody's coming for the eagles. You never seen Native Americans wearing pigeon feathers. It's always eagle feathers because
Mhm.
that's audacious. I want to be that. So I want the spirit of that animal on me. And so when people are offended by your audacity, what they really are offended by is their lack of, and they want your spirit on them. And so if I could talk about you, if I could have your name in my mouth, then maybe I can get some of what you have.
Mm. So when we find that we are being our most audacious selves and people have a problem with it, I can say from an entrepreneurial standpoint, right? I know you work a lot in corporate organizations, but from an entrepreneurial standpoint, the thing that blocks most of my clients from being more visible is that they are scared of what people will say about them.
Mhm.
They are scared of the response. They are scared of people who are going to say, "Who do you think you are?" or bring up your past failures, or "I remember when you used to do this." They're scared to allow themselves out of the box. But in a corporate setting, it's not a physical death, but I mean, we say that people could get promoted, but then on the other side, do you see people who are attempting to be more audacious and it's not working in their favor? Is it because they're going about it the wrong way?
The answer is yes and no. And so the same thing that happens in entrepreneurship also happens in the corporate world. People are scared to be audacious because what if I get promoted over my friends and now I'm their boss? Oh, what if I have to lead the meeting and I'm scared to speak up? What if my inadequacies are exposed? What if my incompetence gets exposed? It's the same thing in the corporate world. And here's the thing. Sometimes it is hurtful because if you're audacious, now you're the target because every boss does not want you shining because now you look better than me. What are we doing here? I can't have you looking better than me in the meeting. But here's the thing I think hurts us the most is that we separate how we should behave professionally from how we should behave personally. And we think those are two different things, and they are not.
Oh,
And
let's get
so
into it.
my question is, would you be with a partner who didn't want you to shine? So why would you be with a boss who doesn't want you to shine? Because that's a partnership. Would you hang around people in your personal life, friends who didn't want to see you go on vacation and do well and explore? So why would you be in work relationships with people who feel the same way? Those two things are not so different. They're just in different genres and different worlds, but we should treat them the exact same.
Teacher, this is why I always tell my clients when we do work in the people pillar to write out their governing decisions for how they want to be treated, how they want to feel in relationship, in partnership, and not making it about, "Oh, well, this is my mom, so I have to go along with this," or "This is my boss," or "This is my supervisor." I think we need a baseline governing decision, just an awareness of how do I thrive best? What are the types of people that give me energy, that help me feel my most powerful, vibrant, aligned, creative self? And just know what that is baseline so that when you're in any relationship, personally or professionally, when your soul gets to speaking and you start feeling something, you like, "Yeah, I don't like this. I
100%.
yeah, I don't like this." Not, "Oh, well, this is the best job I've ever had, so I just have to keep." Your soul will always lead you to the truth, which is this is not going to work for you. But I think to your point, this is how people sit, settle, suffer in spaces that they were supposed to move on from long time ago.
All the time. I had a client once, and her boss was one of these irate people, screamed, cursed, yelled. And I asked her, I said, if you went and told your mom that your boyfriend was screaming, cursing, and yelling at you, what would your mama say? And she said, "Oh, my mom coming into the house and you gonna have to call the police. We bringing the property value down that day." So why would you go to work and let somebody treat you like that when here's a gotcha when you are doing them a favor? You are making that company money. You are making your boss look good. You are doing that person a favor and they are
Mhm.
treating you like this and you're going to tolerate it. Why? That's where the audacity comes because audacity says, if I got this job, I'll get another one. Audacity says, if I can't be who I am, where I am, I change where I am, not who I am. That's audacity.
Ooh, that's so good. That's so good. Okay. So I want to make sure that we talk about your framework, this DARE framework. So you talk about conversational competence as a missing skill in our culture, personally and professionally, not just at work, but in life. Can you break down what true conversational competence looks like and just even explain what that means?
Yes. Conversational competence is the tools that we use to have effective communication, especially when there is a high likelihood for disagreement. What we often think is if I don't say anything, it'll go away. If I just be quiet, it will fix itself. That's how many of us end up on the side of the road with our cars broken down because we thought that loud clinking sound would eventually stop clinking, and it did. It just did when the car stopped working. And now we're on the side of the road talking about this car ain't no good. No, you haven't been good to the car. Just like we haven't been good to ourselves when we sit silently by simply because we don't have the tools to engage in a conversation where we know there is a high likelihood for disagreement. That's what conversational competence is.
Oh, so good. I love that. I always talk about the boulder effect, and I say that life is always speaking to us, and we get the pebbles, we get the rocks, and we act like we didn't know. We act like we had no idea. We didn't see the thing coming. I'm like, no, the boulder came because you're dishonest. You definitely saw the thing coming, and you were talking to and looking at a woman who's had a few boulders. So I'm not judging. I'm just saying, okay?
Right. And here's the
We
thing.
always know.
The thing about it is we try to this is how we lie to ourselves. We lie to ourselves and say I don't want to offend when the truth is you don't mind offending because you offend yourself all the time. What you mind doing is offending other people, and that's where the problem lies. When you enter into conversational competence, you say I'm going to put myself on the same standing with other people in my mind, and if I don't want to be offended, then I am going to have this conversation because my silence is offensive to me. They're fine, but now I'm the one being offended.
Ooh, because it's betrayal. And the more we do this work and learn to have these conversations, what I recognize is tolerating anything less becomes intolerable.
It, I
It
can't
just
do it.
becomes intolerable. You get to a point where you're like, I literally cannot do this with you.
No. And here's the thing, it costs so much money. And people don't they think about when companies call me in and say, hey Dietra, we're having an issue. We have these teams that are at odds. We need you to come in and help us mediate this dispute. They think that's where they're losing money. Mm-mm. It's the silence. Silence costs US companies over $500 billion a year. Silence. And I'll give you an example. All of us can do it. Like ask any person how many people have sat in a meeting, heard a bad idea, and knew that bad idea was going to fail and cost money, but they didn't say anything. They sat silently while the company implemented a bad idea and watched it fail. Some of us that idea was $1 million. Some of it a couple $1 million. And if every single person in the US sat inside of a meeting with $1 million idea and watched it fail, you can easily see how we get to $500 billion. That's the silence that's costing us money, not the argument, the silence.
Oh, so good. Here's the truth. You don't have to do this all alone. Trying to juggle every detail by yourself is the fastest way to lose your peace, and peace is just too priceless. That's why I've partnered with Belay. They are a world-class virtual assistant company, and they are trained to handle the tasks that drain your time and energy so that you can focus on what matters most, which is your purpose. If you're ready to trade stress for support, go to patricewashington.com/belay and find the help you deserve. That's patricewashington.com/BELAY. Okay, so let's get into it. How do we start speaking up? What's the framework?
Yes, yes, yes. So here's what I tell people. The reason you need a framework is because we have our two cousins in our brain. We have the front of our brain, which is that prefrontal cortex. That's the part that does the thinking for us. And then we have our limbic system in the back. Well, our prefrontal cortex, that's the scary cousin. That's the cousin when you get in a fight, they leaving. They like, I don't fight. I will talk to the police when they get here, but I ain't fighting. Your limbic system is like, I got you. I'm ready. I want all the smoke. I got
Square up.
hands. Let's do this. The problem is when we're in an argument, when we need our quiet cousin the most, that's when it shuts down. So think about when you were like, I was so mad, I couldn't even think. It's true. But when you can't think, you need a tool. And that tool is what I call the DARE model, something that your limbic system, the less intelligent cousin, can go to easily. Because without that tool, your crazy cousin just gonna say your mama. It has no good comeback other than your mama, because that's easy. I've been saying since I was 4 years old. I got that. So now we got to give it a tool that when it gets crazy, like, okay, you know what? I got something else other than your mama. I got DARE, which stands for describe, acknowledge, review, and engage. Describe versus interpret, acknowledge similarities without minimizing differences, review the narrative you have accepted as fact, and engage for conversation, not conversion.
Oh, okay. I love that last one. That I love to go there. But okay, let's start. Let's start with describe, not interpret.
Yes. So if I show you a picture, you and everybody else in the world, if I showed you a picture and said describe it, everybody will jump to interpretation first, because that's how our mind works. The reason that happens is because every piece of data that you get goes through a filter before it comes out. That's not a problem. The problem is I don't know what your filter is, and you don't know what my filter is. So let's say, for example, if I said someone was 15 minutes late, my filter is I was raised by an army professional. So to be early is to be on time, to be on time is to be late, and to be late is to be left, and to be late is disrespectful. I interpret that as disrespect because of my filter. I'm also Caribbean. My father's Jamaican.
I was about
That
to
side of
say.
the family is like, girl, Miss Soon come. And that means I haven't even gotten out of the bed yet. Miss
Still
Soon
thinking
come.
about it.
Miss Soon come means your call just woke me up. Right? And so on one hand, if my father's late, I'm like, you're being disrespectful. And on his side, it's not that big of a deal. We have two different filters about the same situation. Instead of me saying you were disrespectful and him saying it's not a problem, we can both say you were 15 minutes late.
Mm.
That's describing. Now we go from what does that mean? Dethra, this is a party. No one's going to be here on time. It's not a big deal. We can go from description, or we can go from no, this is a flight. They close the door 15 minutes before the flight leaves. You're 15 minutes late. We just missed our flight. But we can't get there until we describe first. The description is you were 15 minutes late.
Mm. So good. So good. Okay. So we're 15 minutes late. Everybody got it. We may have different interpretations, but everybody has it.
Now you can, and here's what I say, the important part about description space is that people often use the word conflict resolution. I do not use that word. I use conflict management because most conflicts will not be resolved. They need to be managed.
Oh.
And when we say conflict management, description allows us to make some decisions. Because if I walk outside and say, oh, the sky is a beautiful blue, and someone looks at me, girl, that's a candy apple red. Oh, our description space has allowed me to understand how I now navigate this conversation. You are crazy. We can end it here. We do not need to go any further. Right? Or I'm at description space. Hey, boss, you are my superior in this. You get to final say, I think there's a better way to do this that will save us money. No, we're going to do it this way. And I don't want to hear what you have to say. Description space has now allowed me to understand how I now strategically navigate the rest of this conversation, right? Doesn't mean I have to resolve, I need to manage it. Then that takes us to the next space, which is acknowledging similarities without minimizing differences. What this does is it allows us to focus on what needs to be solved. Similarities make us comfortable naturally. What that means is we will sit in a conversation and say, we pretty much agree on everything. And now we have false agreement when the reality is the thing that mattered, we never talked about because we were too cowardice to do it. We stuck at we agree, but the thing that has us in this conversation is the thing that differs. This is why we build resentment in soulmate relationships, because we keep having the same conversation over and over and over, mainly because we stopped at what we'd agreed on and never ventured into the area where we disagreed.
And I think in most spaces, when you don't have a framework or a way to work through these types of things, it's just more convenient and comfortable for both people to be like, oh, we agreed on that. Okay. And
Very.
this is how relationships implode. Definitely.
This is how they fall apart. And this is part of why, backing up, how I came up with the DARE model. So I have a advanced degree in conflict management, did negotiations, teach it, and was doing divorce mediations. And I was in there thinking I could have helped them save this marriage, or at least made this a lot less contentious if someone had given them the tools to communicate when they disagreed. I mean, people sitting in divorce mediation arguing over dead cat ashes. Here's the thing. You all don't know how to say, I really don't want to end this marriage, but I don't know how to keep going the way it is. Because when you're arguing over dead cat ashes, you don't want to be divorced. But neither of you know how to say, how do we really navigate this marriage in these areas where we have pockets of disagreement that is such a blow up? I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
And that's how we got here.
But so I feel like before we even get to the disagreement, though, this is such a great place to kind of tie in all of our work. Rachel talks about living in your truth, and I also talk about radical honesty. And you
Mhm.
can't really acknowledge what the real problem is if you're not willing to be radically honest about what you need, want, and desire. Because it's like when you said the part about making the decision, you can see what we're talking about. We could see what the description is and what we're actually talking about. And in my case, more recently, it's like I got to the place where I was just like, no, we just don't even want the same
We
things.
don't. And that's where how we get to the third piece of the model, which is the R. Review the narrative you have accepted as fact. Now, why that's so difficult is for many of us, we've accepted something as fact. You can't budge me on it. But it's most difficult because we have to review the narrative we've accepted as fact about ourselves. I accept that I know what I want. And the reality is I haven't healed enough to truly know what I want. The narrative I've accepted as fact is I'm a good communicator. And the reality is, if everybody gets confused when you talk, you're probably not a good communicator. The narrative I have of myself is that I'm a good person. If all your friends leave you, it might not be everybody. They might not be haters. And so when we review the narrative we've accepted as fact, we can separate some of our truths from the truth. And even I do this exercise in my sessions, even when that information has come from an authority, right? Someone or something we deem as reliable. So in my sessions, I ask everyone, okay, go to Google and ask Google, when did women get the right to vote? Google, a reliable source, is going to tell you 1920. There is no reason why you shouldn't believe Google, when the reality is all women, did not get the right to vote until 1965. And so if I ask a student, they're going to tell me 1920, and I'm going to say, go ask my grandma, when did women get the right to vote? She'll tell you 1960. That's a 45-year difference, right? That's 45 years off. And so those narratives can be hard. Even what we think about relationships, who's supposed to do what. I can tell you, even in my own, I travel a lot. The narrative that we had to break was, okay, a woman's supposed to be home. You out there a whole lot. And I remember one time we first had kids, I went on a trip, and someone said to my husband in front, I was getting ready to go on a trip, said to my husband in front of me, oh, you about to babysit.
Those are his kids.
I said, are you implying that I'm lying to him about the biology of his children? Because you babysit children that aren't yours. So are you implying that I'm fooling him and making him take care of kids that aren't his? Because otherwise, what he is doing is what we call parenting. But that was a narrative that had to be broken. And even for many of us entrepreneurs, especially those of us who we have an office in our home, the narrative is you're home, you must be available.
Ooh.
Right. And so we had to break some of those narratives for people that were around us. Oh, no, I can't pick up your kids. No, I can't pick up the children. No,
The phone.
I will not have dinner ready. No, because I'm actually working. My office happens to be in the house, but I'm at work. And actually, I may be working longer and later than you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's part of it, reviewing those narratives that we've accepted as fact, realizing that they may not be factual, and those things that we've reviewed as fact may be a source of contention for the conversation.
But that takes such a great deal of self-awareness,
Oh my gosh.
right? Like, if you're in the midst of a disagreement, how do you drop to that? What are some things that you can do to help you get to that point?
This is one thing I tell my students. When you make a statement, you are setting up for an argument. But when you ask a question, you are setting up for a conversation. You want to be riddled with questions. The question I ask myself and I tell you to ask yourself is, what data do I have to support that narrative? What data do I have to support that narrative? Constantly asking yourself that question, even asking the other person. And here's the deal. Listen, everybody. If you can answer your question with the word idiot, you did not ask a question, you made a statement. So if you can say, what were you thinking? And in your head, you say idiot, that is not a question. That's a statement, y'all. That's a statement. Questions are truly open-ended and inquisitive. When you find yourself trying to trap someone, you are no longer asking a question, you are making statements.
Well, Reagan loves when she thinks somebody is saying something silly, her go-to is, are you okay? Are you cool? So is that a question that we can ask? Are you okay? Are you cool?
Because you know why it's not a question? Because in her head, the answer to that question is idiot. She's like, are you okay? Idiot. Are you cool? Crazy. Those are statements, not
Okay.
questions.
Okay, I have to pass that on. Thank you. Okay, so this model. Okay, so let's go to E.
Oh, good. Now, okay, everyone has the most difficult part of the model for them. And I always ask, which one's the most difficult for you? Everyone has the most difficult part. But no matter how difficult the others are for you, describe versus interpret happens in your head. Acknowledging similarities in your head, review the narratives in your head. Engage is so difficult because it's the only part of the model where you have to open your mouth and get it onto other people. And that's where people lose their audacity. They have the confidence. They already thought it out, but the audacity to act, that's where they lose it. Engage for conversation, not conversion. Here is why this is hard. Two polar opposites. Engage for conversation, not conversion, is hard for those people who are conflict avoidant because I don't want to talk to you no way. And now you are asking me to engage in a conversation, which means I have to open my mouth and talk to you. Or it's hard for those people who love all the smoke because I don't like a tie. And when you're telling me to engage for conversation, not conversion, I came to this conversation to dominate. I came to win. I came to shut you down. And when you're telling me, no, 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 right now, we're just going to have a conversation. I don't like that because I came to win. But let me tell you why this is so critical, even for the people that just want to win. Because every single one of us, don't lie. I know you did it. You can add us later. But every one of us has been in an argument. We just knew, we were winning the argument. And we were ready to call it quits because I got you. And then all of a sudden, there was a piece of information that got inserted. And we were like, oh, shoot. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. And not only am I wrong, but you know what? I've come too far now. I'm gonna go ahead and stick with this one. I'm taking it to the grave. I'm gonna be wrong to my grave and say I was right. I'm never admitting I was wrong. When you engage for conversation, not conversion, you avoid that because you always leave yourself open to either being wrong or
Mhm.
for there to be a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is really, I mean, I think a growth mindset, like understanding that you're coming in with, I'm open to being wrong because at the end of the day, I do want us, if I'm even engaging in this level of conversation, I desire relationship with you.
Absolutely. And this, when people say, well, Deetra, what about? This is not the, okay, I bumped into somebody at the grocery store. Let me use the dare model. Y'all, please. This is no. This is about I need to be in relationship with this person. I care about what happens after this conversation. And so I am intentionally treating this conversation with care because the relationship has to exist in a sustainable way after we engage in this conversation.
Yeah. So in this conversation, although we're engaging, how do you think it can tie into what Rachel's book is, Permission to Offend and Offending with Intention? In that engaging, you likely are going to say something offensive or something that is interpreted as offensive. How do you help people navigate that through your model?
So it's funny. I do a session called Own the Room. And in Own the Room, I talk to people about what stops us from wanting to own the room. And one of the things that we often come up with is labels. If I own the room and step into my power and say, you know what, I'm audacious enough to lead this room. I'm audacious enough to quash the chaos. I'm audacious enough to walk us through the DARE model so that this chaotic meeting can come to some sense of normalcy. What stops us? We might get labeled. And I often ask, what are the labels? Oh, you might be aggressive. And for women, one of the labels that often pops up is, I might get called a bitch. And here is what I tell them: there is a time and place for everything, including being a bitch. And some of us are so busy running from what's needed that we can't do what's required.
Ooh.
And what's required is for us to lean into what they're going to call us anyway. I don't care what you do. You got the label. It's not going to change. So you might as well do what needs to be done so that not only will you be called a bitch, but you can be called a productive, effective bitch.
This is it's so funny. We talked about something similar in the Redefining Wealth app not too long ago. And I was like, I have become fully okay with people saying that they don't like me.
Fully.
I am
Fully.
fully okay with the fact that you don't like, you may not like me, but you will respect me. You may not like me, but you will honor the fact that I honor myself. You may not like me, but you will applaud my conviction. Period.
And on top
So,
of that, you may not like me, but you will ask for me.
ooh, clocked it. No. Yes. I'm like that is not something in my 20s starting out in this space, especially in the online world. I was so like floored when people said they didn't like me. I'm like, I am like one of the kindest people. What do you mean? You know, but then I'm like, why do you even care? They do not know you.
They don't know
They
you.
do not know. And this level of like back and forth and trying to convince, I don't need to convince anyone of anything because they are in their own, they may describe things differently. They have different narratives going on. They have their own stuff going on. It's not really for me to try to salvage any of that. So I'm definitely over that. I still see things about myself and I chuckle. I engage if I feel like it, but most of the time I chuckle and like, girl, bye. Right.
And heavy
But
on the why do you care?
heavy. Heavy.
And
Like, oh,
sometimes there's a legitimate answer. I care because this person is the person deciding about me in this contract. Cool. Now I know how to navigate this relationship. Okay, I care because they determine X. Well, I know I need to perform in this area. I don't need to change how I dress because
Mhm.
you want to see my outcomes on this project. And y'all know crazy glasses, crazy dresser. And of course, don't think I didn't get a memo. I got an MBA. I know you're supposed to wear your black, your navy,
Your
your
hunter green.
and if you're feeling frisky, some khaki, which got Obama in trouble. So you may not want to stay away from that too. I got the memo. I just don't care because my results are so good that you're going to ask for me to show up in my lime green suit because you know no one is going to give you better results. So I ask myself, why do I care? I care because you determine if I get the contract. Well, then what do I focus on? Not how I dress, but the outcomes I provide.
Oh, yes. Okay. So let's say someone brought up how you dress as an example. How do you redirect them to the outcome?
This is something I get I cannot tell you how often I get this. And my question is always, did you like the results you got? I'm always bringing them back around to tell me what outcomes you want to achieve and let's discuss how to best achieve them. If my clothes will impact that, then I am happy to change them, but let's see how that works. I am always keen to bring them back around. And here's the thing, I am comfortable entertaining that this may be a problem, but we're going to talk about it and you're going to give me the data to support it. And if you don't, you're going to get me a lime green suit.
Let me ask you, how do you know which part of your life is actually keeping you from the results you say you want? Most people guess, and then they wonder why they're still stuck. But that's why I created the Pillar Progress Assessment. It helps you identify which of the 6 pillars of wealth need your attention right now, so you can stop spinning your wheels and finally move forward in alignment. I also go deeply into the building blocks that build that pillar, so you know exactly what your next steps should be. Take the assessment now at patricewashington.com/pillar assessment. That's patricewashington.com/pillar assessment, or click the link in the show notes and get your next steps to greater authenticity, alignment, and abundance in order. Well, I think though that that level of audacity requires a certain amount of being willing to lose.
Absolutely.
So
You
we always say here that detachment, it's not that I want to lose, it's not that we will lose, but it's the willingness to lose to honor your truth.
absolutely. This goes back to what you said earlier. Many of us can't walk through these models because we haven't walked with ourselves, right? You don't know what is compromised. And so many of us are doing what I call personality plagiarism, that we don't know who we actually are. We're pretending to be somebody else for so long that we compromise on anything. Oh, I don't like the way you dress. Okay, I'll change it tomorrow. Mm, I don't like the way you speak. I don't like the way you wear your hair. I don't like this. And you'll change it. But when you find your lane, you are comfortable walking out of ones that are not yours. I am so cool when someone says, well, can you dress a little bit more conservative? Nope, not my
No.
speaking engagement. Remember, because describe versus interpret, that's the first step because it helps you determine how you walk through this conversation or this relationship or this conflict. I can decide at the very first top, oh, there's nothing else to talk about. Can you? No, not willing to do that. It was great talking to you, but we're going to go separate ways. That's why you describe first. But before all of that, you have to walk with yourself so you know what doors you should and shouldn't walk into.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that I've been sharing with the clients more is that I'm definitely in a season where I don't want to perform. I'm not willing to perform for you and dilute my own anointing. Like you get
Mm-mm.
the best of me when I show up as myself.
Yeah,
If I have to start monitoring every little thing and shifting and contorting and conforming and all this stuff, now you're getting Patrice Washington, the name, but you're not getting the essence. You're not getting the embodiment. You're not getting the real deal that actually transforms lives. You're getting this little performative puppet that I did that. Been there, did that. I got the applause. I got all the things that come with it, including great lessons in what it feels like to betray yourself, including the lessons about what it feels like to verbally be silent, but your soul is like screaming on the inside. Get out. This is not for you. Do something different. And you're trying to like, shh, 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 shh. no, we got to keep this. We have to keep up this appearance. We have to keep this contract. We have to keep this thing. Baby, you can have it before my
All
soul
of
is
it.
exhausted like that again. Don't want it.
All of it. And here's the thing, I don't think we realize that the world values and pays for priceless originals.
Mhm.
And when you silence yourself, what you're doing is being a cheap knockoff, because what you are, there is somebody waiting for it. And not just what they need it, they are suffering because you won't lean into who you are because you're trying to fit in over here. And what we're afraid of is rejection. I want to be, my brand is for two purposes. It is to draw those who are for me and reject those who are not. I want to reject people. I want people to look at me, hear me, and say, oh, I don't want that. I do, because I don't want you sitting in the seats that belongs to the people who are called to me, who I am called to help. And if you're over here sitting in their seat, I can't help them. I want you to look at me and say nope, so that their seats are available to them. And that's what we do. We're not just offending ourselves. We are offending the people who we are called to truly help when we are authentically who we are.
I love it. I want to repel them.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
please.
I was doing a live one day and one of the clients said, well, how do you feel if someone, doesn't agree? I forget what we were talking about. And I was like, oh, like I did my job.
100%.
I feel like I did my job. I feel like I did exactly what I came to do because the people who are
100%.
assigned to me will resonate with my voice. If I have to
100%.
change my voice, change everything about me, you like someone that is not even real. That is a disservice to you. And but that is what most of us are so attracted to. And you and I both know people who have these facades online, and people think they are attracted to this person because, or these people, because they're using certain language, or they like to use scriptures, or they're doing these certain things. And it's like, if you really got behind the black curtain, you will realize this person is not even what they portray themselves to be online. You better off knowing what you're getting. You're better off knowing what you got over here, because you get behind that black curtain and you're going to realize very quickly, oh, this is an act. Yeah.
Yes. And this is why I love my models so much. And I always go back to the describe piece because it's so critical. Even when we're assessing these people online, describe, because our interpretation allows us to buy into the shiny thing, because we like the shiny thing. But when you start describing and you break that thing down, what did they actually say they were going to do for me now? I saw the shiny, I
Mm,
saw the clothes, I saw them pull up in a Lamborghini on the video, I saw them walk into this big old house and all the stuff, talk about all the great trips they've been on. But when I describe and step back from my filter, because they know you have a filter too,
mhm.
right? They know your filter says if you see me in a Lamborghini, you think I did something to make the money, so you'll invest in me, right? But when you step back and describe, like, wait a minute, what did they actually say they were gonna do? Let me dig into their life. What is their background? Do they have the background to teach me about this? Huh? What? This, I know they have 1 million followers, but why? Because did all those come during the time where they didn't stop you from buying all those followers and nobody was
Ooh.
stopping it because they post got 5 likes, but they have 100,000 followers?
Well, now you speaking too much truth. Well, now you're giving away the game.
Right? And then even going through reviewing the narrative you accepted as fact. The narrative we accept as fact is if you dress nice, live nice, drive a nice car, you can afford it. When some of these people are in debt to the hilt
Mm,
and they are hiding that Lamborghini because the repo man has been circling the block trying to get it. Like, these are the things that we have when we use this model just for everyday life, because conflict is not just with other people, it's with ourselves the most.
mm.
We walk through it, we're like, wait a minute, I can do things differently when I walk my own conflicts and my own decisions through this model.
Okay, so Deetra, let's talk about, as we start winding up, the book. What made you finally take the dare method and model and put it in a book?
So many things. One, obedience. Two is I would speak at conferences, and every time I spoke, someone would come up to me and say, "You just saved my marriage. You made my relationship with my kids better. I think I'm going to call my sibling, and we haven't talked in years." And I realized I had to get this model and this method in a format where people did not have to have their company pay me to come in, have me do a training for them, see me at a conference. I wanted to get this out in the hands of people who were trying to figure it out and may never get to a conference where I spoke. So in the book, I talk about everything from how to talk to your boss about getting a promotion and a raise to how to address the family predator at Thanksgiving. We go there. Oh, we go there because there are too many conversations that are literally killing us that we don't know how to have, and we won't have them because we don't have a model. And psychology tells us this is why when you're in grade school, they teach you certain things like, oh, I before E except after C, unless it's an A, like neighbor away, or PEMDAS. PEMDAS doesn't make math easy. It makes it easier. And if psychology says if you make something easier, people will at least try it. And that's how I created the model. And that's why I wrote the book, because we can no longer let people get promoted above us. We can no longer not have a conversation with our parent who is overbearing, and now we're grown and they're ruining our marriage because we don't know how to say, "Mom, you got to step out of my marriage." We can no longer have our little girls in our family trying to hide from Uncle so-and-so because y'all know how he is, just stay away from him. Absolutely not. We need to learn how to have these conversations. And so I wrote the book so you could have something that made it easier.
Mm. And the book is called That's Not What I Said. Tell me about the title.
So you don't know how many conflicts start with "that's not what I said." We've all been there where we were in there and somebody was repeating back to us something we said, and you were like, "That's not what I said." And now you aren't even arguing about the issue itself. You all are arguing about what was actually said. And we never get to solve the problem because we're like, "No, no, no, you're going to know what I said." But the reality is, people don't repeat what you said, they repeat what they heard. And so this model is about getting to the essence of what you meant, not the words you said. And so I know when I came up with that title, I was like, yeah, everybody's going to resonate with this, because there's not a single person on this earth that has not uttered those words in disgust. That is not what I said.
I've said it 3 times in the last week and with 3 different people. Like personally, professionally, different type of personal literally say it all the time.
Yeah,
Like, I don't believe that's what I said.
that's not what I
Right.
said.
And then I spend the rest of the time trying to remember exactly how I said it, because if it happened more than 10 minutes ago, I'm a woman of a certain age.
What I said.
So I'm also like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not what I said. That's my favorite. Oh, I'm pretty sure. But like, am I? I don't know. Or any of us? I don't know.
Yeah, like these days, my words are, "I'm not sure that's what I said,"
Mhm.
because I'm not sure. But now I rephrase it. And when someone says something that I'm like, "I didn't say that," I will stop and say, "I don't think that's what I said, but tell me again what you heard so we can start discussing it from that point."
But tell me again what you heard. Let me.
Because it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what I actually said. All that matters is what you heard, because that's what we're starting the conversation from. We're starting the conversation from what you heard.
Oh, Deetra, this is so good. So I was supposed to get, full transparency, I was supposed to get my autographed a hardcover copy of the book at Redefining Wealth Live, but I was like, Sherry, Deetra, go ahead and sell your book. Or, this woman sold out of the books and didn't save my book to the side, and then said, well, I'm getting more books, but I'm going to speak here and there, and has sold out of every book every time she has been somewhere to speak in the last month.
And what's even more shady is I did sit your book to the side.
And then gave it to somebody. You gave it to Latrice. And I know Latrice is in the Institute, and she told me, she said, no, Deetra ended up giving me her book, giving me the book. And I wanted to say, Now, Latrice, I love you, but that's my book.
But give me my book back.
Okay. No. So I'm still waiting for my hard copy of the book.
I'm sending it. I will
Y'all,
mail it as soon as we get off today. I will mail you your copy.
y'all heard it here first. Now, if I'm not holding it up in my stories at the time that this episode goes live, you will know that I still do not have my book. But no, friend, I'm so proud of you. And if you go to Detra's social media, you will see that I am listed as one of her book doulas, one of the people who was a part of helping her birth this book. And my role was to hold her accountable to shopping. She was not allowed to shop unless she finished the book. And so I took that role very seriously.
Way too
And
seriously, y'all. Way too
I
seriously.
mean, but is it way too seriously?
Yes. Let me tell a story. So you all, I'm in the middle of writing my book. Another friend is like, Dethra, you've been going all over the world. You need a break. Meet me in Miami. We're gonna chill in Miami. So I go to Miami. I make the mistake of posting, hey, picture with my girl. Me and my girl, we in Miami chilling. You all. Patrice sends this random woman that she does not know a message. And so my girl turns to me, she says, hey, Dethra, you know Patrice? I said, Patrice, why? She said, yeah, she just sent me a message that says, hey, I'm Detra's other friend. She's supposed to be writing a book and she's not allowed to shop right now. Could you please make sure she doesn't shop? Yeah, I was mortified. I was like, you know what? Let me put this cover up on and go finish writing this book.
Well,
Mortified, but I got the book done though.
but you got the book done. You selling out books. You're going on book tours internationally. You'll be in South Africa. Like you, I mean, we have to get it done by any means necessary. I
Which is
am not above DMing a random person on
not
Instagram.
above it
She
all.
wasn't that random because she's your friend.
And here's the thing, this is why I love it for your community. I love that you step into your role audaciously and that you don't care, because these people's lives will be forever changed, not because of just your knowledge, because you are extremely brilliant and you have worked these pillars down to the letter, but because of your love and desire for accountability for people. That's what really makes these pillars matter. It's like, okay, I gave you these pillars, but I am going to hold your feet to the fire to get this stuff done, and their lives will forever be changed.
Oh, thank you. That is literally the why. That's the why. That's the thing that makes it matter. At the end of the day, I want people to be able to say, you know what? That woman, she got on my nerves, but you know what? I finished the book. I launched the business. I bought the house. I took the trip. I paid the debt off. I
Right?
started the thing. Like whatever it is, whatever is going to protect their vision. It's not about my vision because God
Absolutely.
gave you something, but I want to help people have just like you, systems, frameworks, tools that they can go to help them protect the vision. And that's what the dare model does. It helps people protect the vision for the relationships that they want to have, for the relationships they want to keep with themselves and with others. So thank you, friend. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here.
It's
I want to talk to you all day, every day. We have to go to lunch, but thank you for being here. We're going to link to That's Not What I Said in the show notes, as well as to Detra's TED Talk. She is just a phenomenal speaker, and we'll make sure that we link to everything. But where can people find you on social media?
absolutely on Instagram. I am Dethra_Giles. That is DETHRA_GILES. On LinkedIn, follow me. You'll find out what employeepreneurs are, but all of my employeepreneurs need to be following me on LinkedIn. There I am, Dethra Giles. And then I also have a podcast, the Happily Ever Employed podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Love it. Dethra, thank you so much for being here. I'm so proud of you, and I'm excited to see what the book continues to do. And whenever we host some type of book signing, reading for our community, we got to talk about that. I will let you guys know so you can participate from wherever you are in the world. But That's Not What I Said is so good. I do have the digital copy, but I need to touch it, highlight, underline, dog ear. I'm still old school, so I still need my physical copy. Thank you. You guys, that was incredible. Didn't I tell you that this woman is powerful? She doesn't just talk about conversations, she helps you redeem your power, your integrity, your authenticity, your alignment. Deetra really reminds us that words can be weapons or they can be tools, and it's about our awareness. That's what decides which one they become, right? I love that she talked about the description allows us to make a decision about how we're going to participate in this conversation. And when she said that, she doesn't use conflict resolution, it's conflict management. Just so many goodies. This is one of those episodes that I know you will want to share with friends, especially friends, family, coworkers, the people that you're going to want to be talking to. You want them to also know about the DARE method so that they are using the right tools with you as well. So I think that the heart of this season, as we've been reading Permission to Offend, is really about giving ourselves permission to be honest, even when that honesty may feel offensive, because peace that requires your silence isn't really peace. It is performance. It is not authenticity. It is the quickest way to lose your integrity and your power. And so as you carry this episode with you, I just want you to pause and reflect on the questions that Dethra asked, but just also ask yourself, where in my life am I protecting other people's comfort at the expense of my own peace? Because the truth is, your calling will always require you to step in to that next level of courage. And courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it does whisper, but it's going to whisper, say it anyway, because that's what's needed to move your life forward. So pick up a copy of That's Not What I Said. Get your copy of Rachel Luna's Permission to Offend. These are all resources that will support you in redefining wealth. There's no such thing as redefining wealth if you're still leaning on external validation and trying to keep other people happy and comfortable. This is an internal job. This is the work that we have to do with us. This is a part of that self-mastery and pillar mastery that we even talk about. It's about being willing to really go deeply into where you need to use your voice some more, first with yourself and then with others. So I hope this episode was a blessing. I will see you next week. We are winding down this very special season dedicated to my girl, Rachel Luna. You can still give to her family if you desire. All of that information is in the show notes as well. And until next week, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and keep earning more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. We'll talk to you later.